Okay, here we go. Week two of Ag Systems Thinking. This week, we're going to look at several tools that are useful to try to understand perspective in various situations, farming systems, but as well as life. Let's take a look at these tools. The first reading is from Seeing Nature. The chapter We Become What We Practice is just 6 pages from Paul Crafell's book, putting you into a cave dwelling in the American Southwest. Any of you have ever been to a place like Mesa Verde, you may be able to picture this. And if not, take a look on the web, see what these cave dwellings look like. We're going to look at how cultural assumptions affect how we see the world. And it's a pretty interesting little story. I'm going to ask you then to comment on the discussion board on what you've gleaned, what you've learned from this reading. The five whys is a relatively simple tool we use in systems thinking to try to understand a situation at a bit more depth than a superficial understanding that we often find in the news. In fact, the journal post that you'll be doing this week is to listen to a news story on swine flu and ask the question: so why was there an outbreak of swine flu? The newscast has proposed the outbreak of swine flu was due to confinement agriculture, CAFOs, concentrated agricultural feeding operations, or factory farms. And then we'd ask our situation, well, why do we have confinement agriculture? We'll answer that and we'll ask why again, at least 5 times to try to understand things at some depth. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a simple tool. Give it a try. The ladder of inference is another systems tool in which we reflect on our thought process. I'll ask you to look at the materials on the ladder and try to understand it, and then go to the assignments link on the left to do the homework, in which you'll look at a photograph, um, answer the question, what did you notice first about the photograph? What kind of conclusions did you come to? And examine your thinking about how you came to those conclusions about the photograph. I think you'll enjoy this one too. These first couple of tools that we're practicing with are based on our understanding of mental models. Mental models is one of the systems tools that Peter Senge teaches us in his book on the 5 disciplines of a learning organization. On this next video is me in class again, giving you some context for what we're doing here today.
All right, that was good. So this all comes from Peter Senge. Senge is a professor at MIT, Sloan School of Management. He started as a business consultant. MIT hired him because he was doing so well. He wrote a book called The Fifth Discipline. The fifth discipline is these disciplines of learning. The fifth discipline is called systems thinking. Senge is now like a $10,000 a day consultant for businesses. And so much of what I've pulled out to apply to agriculture comes from the business world. And so it comes with certain assumptions. Some of it comes from other places like Joanna Macy, which we talked about on Thursday, a Buddhist systems thinker, did her work at Berkeley, got her PhD at Berkeley, I believe, on systems thinking. And so some of what I share with you comes from that. Some of it comes from Paul Crafell, the naturalist. What I've done is try to extract what I find to be useful from many, many different sources and bring it into this class and apply it to farming systems. Today, we look at mental models, which is one of the 5 disciplines that he speaks about. Reframing, which I've just described, is one of the uses of mental models. The 5 whys, which we played with on Thursday, which becomes the homework for this week, ask yourself why 5 times to dig down deeper into root causes. The ladder of inference I'm going to present to you in a minute, and reflection, inquiry, and advocacy are tools for trying to unravel, to try to get past the mental models. So I want to just look at another just a simple video looking at the power of mental models and how it affects your actions and reactions.
We build knowledge from the information we are taking in from our senses, every moment of our lives. Check out this dog. You might be willing to pet him. Or you might not. It's your mental model that makes the difference. Mental models are knowledge. They are what we build when we make meaning out of information, memories, and experiences. Just as your experiences are unique to you, so are the mental models you build. And the mental models you build are a powerful thing because they determine how you feel. And how you act. Mental models don't depend on words or language. From the moment we are born, we are building mental models. And for babies, that's a whole lot of building because almost everything is news to them.
So mental models are the images, the assumptions, the stories we carry in our minds of ourselves and other people and how the world works. It's basically a worldview that affects how we see the world. For example, is a dog a dangerous being or is a dog a friendly being? It's a mental model based on our experience. Here comes another video from class.
Dog. Different reaction based on your experience. Neither one is right and wrong. Both are legitimate experiences. Dogs are friendly, dogs are mean, but our reaction and how we see the world depends on our experiences. So I shared with you last week 2 views of farming systems. I have a preference for one, but they both represent mental models. Industrial farms, I believe, are modeled after simple machines, simple inputs and outputs. The seeds go in, the sun goes in, and the corn comes out. Ecological farming, or sustainable farming, or permaculture in some cases, are messy and alive, and we participate with them. These are 2 worldviews that represent 2 different mental models, or models of the world that we create in our brains. So, who cares? Mental models are used to understand, first of all, what's driving our behavior. It's used to understand how we communicate and why sometimes our communications fail. We can improve communication, we can build better teams, we can make better decisions if we understand the power of mental models. And we'll be playing with this over and over again. So I shared with you this one. These are 2 different farms. This is the farm. The mental model of the farmer is outside the farm. This is the farm boundary, and the cow and the corn's inside the farm. And are we farmers outside and manipulating and managing that farm as external observers, or are we participants in that farm? Isn't that clever? Sometimes I think I have too much time on my hands because this took me a while to get that. I was looking for something that says interaction, and so are we participants, Do we interact with the corn and the cow inside the system? And that's helpful for me. Here is the fundamental human flaw. Now, you all came to college to learn something. Now I'm going to give you the fundamental human flaw, and you can quit because this is all you need to know. The world was created for humans to use is a belief system. And much of our behavior as humans reinforces that belief system. The world was created for humans to use. And there's biblical references around that, which suggests that I am apart from nature. I am apart from the farm. I'm not part of the farm. And so the world was created for humans to use. It's different than the world was created, and humans get to participate. A different worldview. An ecological worldview, a worldview based on living systems. And so my basic assumption about the world is, the basic human flaw is that we believe that we are apart from nature, and what we need to do is change our mental models to believe that we are part of nature. That's the most important thing I'll ever teach you.
So here we have some mental model tools. The reframing tool we're going to do next week. The 5 whys is part of the homework for this week, and the ladder of inference comes next. Let's take a look at the ladder of inference.
Is a tool for understanding why we disagree with each other quite often. Some of the things we believe in, that our beliefs are the truth, right? And the truth is obvious, and our beliefs are based on real data, and we only select real data, and therefore our beliefs are the truth, and the truth is obvious. Here's the ladder of inference. The story is, John arrives at 9 o'clock for a 9 o'clock meeting at 9:20. You could say this: the student farmers walk in to class at 1:05. Somebody arrives at a meeting. The data that you see, if you had a video camera looking at the situation, the data that you would see is that John arrives at 9 o'clock for a 9 o'clock meeting at 9:20. The observable data is just that. That's the videotape data. But what we do with that immediately, without thinking, is we add meaning to that. John is late. That's adding meaning. The data is somebody walks in at 9:20 for a 9:20 meeting. The meaning we add is, the data we select is John is late. The meaning we add is that John doesn't care. John's not capable of running a project. This example came from a business model. So that we add, make assumptions based on this data, right? We then draw conclusions based on this data and these assumptions. I can't trust John to do this job, right? I draw conclusions. Then I adopt beliefs based on this. You truly can't count on anybody, right? Because, and then finally, I better do it myself, So what happened was, we observed someone walks in at 9:20 for a 9 o'clock meeting, and what we do very quickly is we run up the ladder of inference, and we all do it. So at a meeting, I don't know, sometime 1995, late 90s, over in New York in the Hudson Valley, a group of people coming together to help teach systems thinking to farmers. And we're going to get together. We got a big grant from the Kellogg Foundation. We're going to teach systems thinking to farmers. And we're have a planning meeting about this. I don't know everybody in the room. It's sort of about 20 people that are doing this involved in this project. And but I've been doing this for quite a while. I thought I really knew something, some guy walks in I'd never seen before, and he's wearing a suit and a tie. Everyone else is kind of dressed like me. It was kind of casual. It's supposed to be a conversational meeting. We're sitting over there in the Hudson Valley, surrounded by farms, in a very comfortable place. This guy walks in wearing a suit and a tie. I immediately don't like this guy. I don't know who this guy is. Comes, sits down, he's wearing a suit and a tie. I immediately walk up the ladder of inference. Guy wearing a tie. The guy's a jerk. He probably is really pompous. He needs a tie to overcome his insecurities, right? I'm adding meaning. I'll make assumptions. I am not going to like this guy, right? I draw conclusions. I ain't even talk to this guy. So therefore, I never have to change my assumptions because I don't talk to the guy, right? I walk. So anyway, we're doing this training, and I got to know the guy. He wasn't so bad. So I exposed we're talking about ladder of inference. I got a confession to make. We're looking for stories, I got a confession to make. When so-and-so walked in the room, this is what I did. I just told the truth about myself. And what it provided was a learning experience for everybody in the room. It was real, and we all do it. So that night at dinner, we all come to dinner at the same place, this little lunchroom thing. And I came to dinner. Someone was talking to me outside the room, so I was a little bit late coming into the room. And everybody in the room is sitting there wearing a tie. Gotcha. So in systems thinking, there's three tools. One called reflection, advocacy, and inquiry. For how do you use this information? This is information. That's fine. We all have mental models. We make assumptions. We make mistakes. All that's true. To use that information, we'll practice this in discussion groups. First thing, reflect. Become aware of your own thinking. I don't like people with ties. Probably because I had to wear a tie for a long, long time when I was in a different job, And this was part of the deal. I didn't like it. And so I'm really sensitive around this tie thing. So there's a reflection, making your thinking and reasoning more obvious. This is advocacy. So the reason I don't like ties is because I had to wear a tie. I advocate for help. I want you to understand my mental model, And then asking others, so why do you believe what you believe? And being open to that rather than run to judgment. We all run to judgment really, really fast. What this class asks you to do is slow down the judgment and reflect.